In the aftermath of the recent elections, the Democratic Party finds itself in a precarious position, grappling with a series of setbacks that have left many questioning its future. With the party still reeling from losses in the last 3 federal elections, including the presidency, a lively discussion has emerged about the need for a strategic overhaul. Participants in a recent USA Today forum voiced their opinions on what the Democrats are doing wrong, what they could improve, and the potential paths forward. The conversation is underscored by the lingering shadows of Donald Trump's influence over American politics. Many commentators argue that Democrats must learn from the GOP's playbook, particularly in terms of messaging and engagement. The ideas of civility, respect for the process, decency, and morality have no place in today's political climate, one participant noted, suggesting that Democrats might need to adopt a more combative approach to resonate with a broader audience. Critics have pointed out that the Democratic Party's focus on niche issues has alienated key voter demographics. For instance, some forum participants lamented the party's overemphasis on specific social issues like LGBTQ+ rights at the expense of more pressing concerns affecting average voters such as immigration and economic stability. "We need to become more centrist," one voice argued, stressing the importance of addressing the frustrations surrounding immigration processes and border control. Another significant point raised during the discussions was the absence of a clear and unified leadership within the party. With speculation about Vice President Kamala Harris's potential candidacy in future elections, opinions are divided. Some believe she lacks the necessary qualifications, while others advocate for fresh, dynamic leadership to engage the electorate more effectively. Individuals like billionaire entrepreneur Mark Cuban and popular public figures were suggested as potential candidates capable of bridging the gap between traditional Democratic values and the current political landscape. The diversity of opinions reflects a broader concern that without a coherent strategy, the Democratic Party risks further marginalization. One participant encapsulated this sentiment by stating Democrats pushed messages to an audience in the margins. The audience in the margins needs to join in a central strategic message to the public for the ultimate goal, winning hearts and minds. As the party navigates these challenges, the ongoing situation regarding Kilmar Ábrego García, a man wrongfully deported to El Salvador, serves as a stark example of the complexities surrounding immigration policy and the importance of due process. A delegation of House Democrats recently traveled to El Salvador to advocate for his return, highlighting the party's struggle to effectively address immigration issues while also drawing attention to their commitment to justice and human rights. The case has sparked debates about the Trump administration's handling of immigration and due process, further complicating the Democrats' approach to these topics. Looking ahead, the Democratic Party faces a crucial crossroads. Many believe that embracing a more progressive agenda while simultaneously appealing to centrist voters may be key to revitalizing their appeal. As one participant succinctly put it, if they could find a good leader, this would fix itself. It's all about the presentation. With the 2026 midterms approaching rapidly, the urgency for the Democratic Party to recalibrate its strategy is palpable, as voices within the party call for a new direction. The challenge remains: how to unite diverse viewpoints under a cohesive banner that resonates with a broad spectrum of voters. The political landscape is shifting, and the Democrats must adapt or risk being left behind in a rapidly evolving arena. In the tumultuous landscape of American politics, few figures inspire as much fervent debate as former President Donald Trump. As the nation grapples with economic uncertainty, social division, and shifting global alliances, a recent article by Dr. Alon Ben-Meir in The Globalist starkly paints Trump as a destructive force, warning that if left unchecked, his actions could lead the United States into a national disaster. According to Ben-Meir, the current political climate finds the U.S. at a historic crossroads, with looming threats to both domestic and international stability. He argues that Trump's onslaught on U.S. institutions is unparalleled and his alienation of allies is unfathomable. This unrelenting pursuit of power, he suggests, has led Trump to abuse his authority in ways that threaten the very foundation of American democracy. Trump must be stopped, he asserts, holding the Republican Party accountable for enabling a leader whose actions could fundamentally alter the nation as it is known today. Central to Ben Mayer's argument is the notion that Trump's authoritarian tendencies have not only undermined democratic principles but also put millions of Americans at risk. He highlights the potential cuts to vital social programs like Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, describing such measures as a moral failure. Taking away healthcare for the elderly who are in desperate need of help. And giving it to the rich is not just dead wrong, he states, suggesting that these actions exemplify a broader moral bankruptcy within the Republican Party. Moreover, Ben Mayer criticizes Trump's approach to foreign relations, particularly his handling of trade and alliances. He notes the unraveling of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement USMCA and the imposition of tariffs on numerous countries, which he argues will exacerbate economic instability both domestically and globally. The resultant trade war, he warns, threatens to disrupt the global economy in ways unseen before, potentially leading to a recession that could affect every sector of the economy. While Ben Mayer's critique presents a dire warning about the consequences of Trump's policies, the sentiment among some Republican voters remains steadfastly supportive. In Northeast Pennsylvania, for instance, local Republicans express confidence in Trump's leadership despite the political turmoil. Dan Naylor, chair of the Lackawanna County Republican Party, suggests that fears regarding cuts to social programs are overstated, asserting the president has said right along that there's going to be no cuts to Medicaid or Medicare. This sentiment reflects a broader tendency among Trump supporters to perceive the current challenges as necessary growing pains rather than signs of impending disaster. In stark contrast to Ben Mayer's perspective, Naylor and others in Trump's base maintain that the president is making difficult but essential decisions to address long-standing issues. They believe that Trump's actions are aimed at restructuring the economy and tackling the national debt, which currently stands at over $36 trillion, a concern that weighs heavily on the minds of constituents. The division in public opinion surrounding Trump's presidency underscores a fundamental rift in American society. While some view him as a transformative leader willing to take bold risks, others see his governance as a threat to the values of democracy and international cooperation. For instance, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, a Republican who recently visited Ukraine, echoes a commitment to supporting allies, contrasting sharply with Trump's previous alienation of NATO partners. As the country faces these pressing challenges, the future remains uncertain. Will the Republican Party continue to support a leader whose policies many deem reckless, or will there be a reckoning that holds accountable those who have enabled such governance? The stakes are high, and as Ben Mayer warns, the judgment day may be approaching, with significant repercussions for both the party and the nation as a whole. The coming months will be pivotal in determining how the U.S. navigates this turbulent political landscape and whether it can reclaim its status as a beacon of democracy on the global stage. In a surprising turn of events, U.S. Senator Patty Murray has called out the Department of Veterans Affairs (VA) for its unprecedented refusal to allow the VA Puget Sound to participate in an upcoming Women's Veterans Roundtable scheduled for Seattle. This marks a concerning shift in the VA's approach to congressional engagement, particularly regarding issues crucial to women veterans' healthcare. In a letter addressed to VA Secretary Doug Collins, Senator Murray expressed her dismay at what she characterized as a lack of transparency and communication from the VA. She noted that throughout her 3-decade tenure representing Washington state, she has routinely collaborated with the VA to host outreach events, including roundtables focused on various healthcare topics. However, this latest refusal to allow participation in the Women Veterans Roundtable came without any justification, which Senator Murray described as both surprising and disheartening. Throughout my time in Congress under both Republican and Democratic administrations, I have been able to have open and honest conversations with VA and engage with my veteran constituents in Washington state, Murray stated. However, this administration has proven to be vastly different. Her remarks highlight a growing frustration with the current VA's lack of responsiveness to congressional inquiries and its reluctance to engage with veterans directly about their healthcare experiences. The roundtable was intended to provide a platform for women veterans to discuss their healthcare concerns and ensure that their voices are heard in shaping the services they receive. Murray emphasized the importance of this dialogue, stating, "We owe women veterans the opportunity to have a say in how VA can best deliver their healthcare to them." She pointed out that VA Puget Sound has a robust women's health program that deserved recognition and discussion. In her letter, Senator Murray outlined several questions that she demanded be answered by May 16. Expressing concern about the politicization of constituent services and the VA's apparent shift away from its previous policies allowing such outreach events. She questioned the rationale behind the refusal, the level at which the decision was made, and whether the focus on women veterans played a role in the decision. The implications of this refusal extend beyond a single roundtable discussion. It raises critical questions about the VA's commitment to transparency and accountability, particularly as it pertains to the healthcare needs of women veterans. Senator Murray's call for answers underscores a significant concern that the current administration may be erecting barriers that hinder veterans from accessing the care they rightly deserve. Senator Murray's previous efforts to engage with women veterans include hosting a roundtable in February 2024, where she gathered input from both VA officials and veterans. The stark contrast between past collaboration and the current situation serves as a warning signal regarding the future of veteran services under the current administration. As the situation develops, the response from Secretary Collins and the VA will be crucial in determining how effectively the agency can address the healthcare needs of women veterans moving forward. The outcome of this inquiry may not only set a precedent for future engagements but also reflect the broader priorities of the VA in serving those who have served the nation. The stakes are high and the veteran community is watching closely as Senator Murray continues to advocate for their rights and needs. In a significant political maneuver, a delegation of 4 House Democrats has embarked on a mission to El Salvador advocating for the return of Kilmar Ábrego García, an immigrant who was wrongfully deported amid controversial circumstances. This unprecedented trip underscores the growing tensions between Congress and the Trump administration as lawmakers aim to challenge the government's refusal to comply with a Supreme Court ruling mandating Ábrego García's return to the United States. The delegation, comprising Representatives Yasemin Ansari of Arizona, Maxine Dexter of Oregon, Maxwell Frost of Florida, and Robert Garcia of California, arrived in El Salvador on Sunday. Their visit follows a prior trip by Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who has been vocal in supporting Ábrego García's case. "Even with all of the illegal actions we've seen over the last couple of months, I think this is the one that terrifies me the most when it comes to the future of our democracy," Ansari stated in an interview with the Associated Press, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Ábrego García, who had lived in the United States for over a decade, was deported during a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) operation on March 15. His deportation has become a focal point in the ongoing conflict between the executive branch and the judiciary, particularly concerning the enforcement of immigration laws. The Supreme Court previously ruled that the government had a duty to assist in his return, yet the Justice Department has claimed that it lacks the authority to do so. The representatives are set to meet with U.S. Embassy officials to advocate for Ábrego García while also inquiring about other individuals who have been similarly transferred to El Salvador. In a statement during a news conference, Frost emphasized the importance of due process, asserting, "Due process applies to all people in our country. We demand the release of Ábrego García." The complexities surrounding Ábrego García's case are further compounded by the Trump administration's defense of the deportation. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt described him as involved in human trafficking and terrorism, asserting that his return to the U.S. would result in immediate deportation once again. However, even some Republicans like Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana have acknowledged that the deportation was a mistake, stating, "This was a screw-up." As the delegation presses forward with their efforts, they face significant challenges, particularly given the limited leverage Democrats hold in Congress. Nevertheless, they remain committed to maintaining public pressure on the administration. Ansari noted that more Democratic lawmakers are expected to visit El Salvador in the coming weeks, framing their efforts as part of a broader fight for democracy and due process in the U.S. The case has also drawn attention from human rights advocates who criticize the conditions under which Ábrego García is being held. Following his deportation, he was placed in a Salvadoran prison known for its harsh conditions, raising alarms about his safety and well-being. This situation has galvanized support not only among Democrats but also from activist groups advocating for immigrant rights. The emotional toll of the situation extends beyond Ábrego García himself. His wife Jennifer Vázquez Sura expressed gratitude for the lawmakers' visit, stating, "We're deeply grateful to the members of Congress and advocates for justice now on the ground in El Salvador." This sentiment reflects the broader implications of the case as it touches on issues of justice, immigration policy, and the fundamental rights of individuals. As the situation develops, the delegation's advocacy efforts may serve as a litmus test for the Biden administration's approach to immigration reform and its commitment to upholding judicial decisions. The outcome of this case could have far-reaching implications for future immigration policies and the administration's relationship with Congress, particularly as public scrutiny continues to mount. The ongoing saga of Kilmar Ábrego García stands as a stark reminder of the complexities and controversies inherent in the U.S. immigration system as lawmakers navigate the challenging landscape of policy, justice, and human rights. In a pivotal session on April 21, 2025, the Supreme Court engaged in heated deliberations over the constitutionality of a key provision within the Affordable Care Act (ACA) that mandates insurance companies to provide certain preventive care services at no cost. This case, which centers on the authority of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force (USPSTF), could have far-reaching implications for millions of Americans who rely on free preventive health services ranging from cancer screenings to HIV medications. The legal challenge comes from a coalition of small Christian businesses and Texas residents who argue that the task force's inclusion of no-cost HIV medications violates their religious beliefs. They contend that these medications promote behaviors contrary to their faith, sparking the judicial inquiry into the task force's authority to dictate what constitutes essential health coverage. At the heart of the debate is the structure of the USPSTF, which was established in 2010 and consists of 16 volunteer members appointed by the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Opponents of the task force's role argue that its members should be classified as principal officers under the Appointments Clause of the Constitution, warranting presidential appointment and Senate confirmation. A federal judge in Texas initially agreed with this argument, leading to a ruling that invalidated the task force's recommendations, effectively jeopardizing the no-cost provision of numerous preventive services. During the hour-long oral arguments, the justices appeared divided, with some expressing skepticism about the challengers' claims. Justice Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Amy Coney Barrett suggested that the task force's independence did not preclude oversight from the health secretary, likening the relationship to that of law clerks providing independent advice to justices. Justice Sotomayor articulated independence means that the members would act according to their best scientific and expert judgment, infusing humor into the solemnity of the proceedings, as she emphasized that independence does not equate to a lack of accountability. In contrast, Justice Brett Kavanaugh expressed doubt regarding the government's interpretation of independence, questioning whether the task force could truly function independently if its members could be removed at the secretary's discretion. His remarks highlighted the tension between the task force's perceived autonomy and the overarching authority of the executive branch. The implications of this case extend far beyond the immediate legal arguments. If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the challengers, it could dismantle the ACA's framework for preventive care, stripping millions of Americans of access to vital health services without out-of-pocket costs. Leading health organizations have warned that such a ruling would discourage patients from seeking necessary preventive care, potentially leading to worsened health outcomes and increased long-term healthcare costs. As the court grapples with these complex issues, the political landscape surrounding healthcare remains fraught with contention. The Biden administration has defended the task force's structure, emphasizing its role in public health while the Trump administration continues to argue for its constitutionality. A decision from the Supreme Court is anticipated by late June or early July, and it will likely shape the future of healthcare coverage in the United States. With the stakes so high, the outcome will not only reflect the court's interpretation of constitutional law but also its stance on the delicate balance between government oversight and public health advocacy in a deeply polarized political climate. As the nation awaits the ruling, the implications for preventive care, public health policy, and the rights of religious objectors remain critical areas of concern.